Welcome back to another episode of the Jackrabbit Illustrated podcast. We're excited to have you join us today. Before we dive in, we'd like to thank our sponsors who help make this all possible. First off, a great big thank you to our title sponsor again for 2024, the Kubota dealers of South Dakota. Whether it's tractors, mowers, utility vehicles, construction, or farm equipment, Kubota's got you covered. With 9 convenient locations across the state of South Dakota and 1 in northwest Iowa, there's always a Kubota dealer nearby. Stop by your local Kubota dealer and see all they have to offer. All A Team shows are sponsored this year by Culver's of Brookings and Watertown, home of the Butterburger, fried cheese curds, signature root beer, and world-famous custard. Culver's, welcome to delicious. Next, we would like to recognize the support of our other A Team podcast sponsors. Cubby Sports Bar and Grill, the best sports bar in South Dakota and home to the Jimmy Rogers Radio Show. Northwestern Mutual Wealth Management, see them for all your retirement and life insurance needs. And the Jackrabbit Former Players Association. And now, here is the A Team. Welcome back, everybody, to Jackrabbit Illustrated, your one-stop shop for all things South Dakota State football. I'm Chad. I'm here with Dallas, Jake, and Matt, and we are going to recap Saturday, I guess just the other day's matchup against OSU Cowboys, and we're going to look forward to the upcoming clash with the University of Incarnate Word. But I'd like to give thanks to Kubota, our title sponsor for all our shows this year. Got a brand new Kubota tractor sitting out in my shop, and man, does that thing cut grass, Jake. It is nice. I heard that perhaps you're interested in a Kubota side by side. If you can get a deal on one of those, man, they are nice. I rode on one into the scholarship auction, and that was a nice piece of machinery. Also like to shout out our A-Team our A-Team sponsor this year is Culver's of Brookings and Watertown. I see that Ben made a stop at Culver's and Brookings before he left for Oklahoma. Got himself a nice little order, and you should too. Get yourself a great Butterburger or some wonderful Culver's custard. Jake, how you doing today?
Good, man. Good. You know, I'm a little tired. I've been walking around town without my Kubota tractor, my side-by-side that I'm supposed to have. So, you know, that's the expectation now that I'd have that this last week, and all I've been doing is just trudging around town. So, yeah, any help we can get on that would be great.
I think that's a 1-year anniversary thing.
Oh, okay. That's
I don't think you get that right away.
Yeah. I might
everybody's going to try and
then
be a host of our show, right? And to be clear, I bought my Kubota tractor.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Just in case anybody were to think that was something I got for free. I did not. Got a heck of a deal. It's a great piece of machinery. Hey, Matt.
Hey.
How you doing?
Good. Are you all rested up in the drive?
Me? Yeah, I drove up, down and back both. Kind of a little snafu with the group. Life throws you curveballs, and so I ended up having the rental van in my name because of that, and drove all the way down there. Had to drive and pick up a friend at Tulsa the day before, so got an extra couple hours in there, and then drove back yesterday. So,
well, you like to drive, so that's all
I
right.
don't mind it so much, no, but I can tell you, a Dodge Caravan's seats aren't the most comfortable.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Oh, gosh.
It was a nice van, but not the lap of luxury.
Yeah. Dallas, did you make it to the Minnesota State Fair yesterday?
Did not. Sorry. I showed up late, so I'm struggling getting my stuff going here. No, didn't make it to the State Fair. Did some kind of end of summer, just tried to enjoy what was left. Took youngest daughter and one of her friends to the pool and just kind of tried to soak it up a little bit.
All right. There you go.
John Colley says he knows a guy, so that's who you should talk to. My guess is you'd be dealing with a nice gentleman up at Farmers Implement there in Brookings, your local Kubota dealer there in Brookings.
Which I need to stop there on Saturday before the game. I have to get some parts to do that oil change before winter. So, yeah, that's what I'll be doing for tailgating. Hey, and also Culver's, right?
Yeah, we talked about Culver's.
Sorry, I missed it when I stepped out for a second.
Yeah.
So, hey, how was Stillwater? Let's get into Stillwater. How was Stillwater, you two?
Jake, you want to start? Or? Yeah.
Yeah. No, I I was able to make the trip. My wife and I went down. We flew. I probably wasn't as tough as you, Chad. We flew down, but it was really cool. Honestly, Stillwater is just this. What is it, like 50,000? I don't think it's super
Yep,
big.
that's right.
But it's the college is just the campus is gorgeous. Nice
Yep.
big campus, and even tailgating. You're tailgating in campus. I mean, you're literally on the yards and the lawns of
Cool.
academic buildings, which was kind of neat. I mean, it was just really nice and quick and easy walk. Our tailgate was great. Really good kind of attendance from across the board. We kind of wandered towards the stadium, got to the tailgate early, wandered to the stadium, came back, and it was just a sea of blue. It was really cool to see, the size of the tailgate there. And then obviously the stadium. I think the gentleman I was sitting next to, actually, an Oklahoma State guy, said it was built in 20 years ago or so when Boone Pickens gave all the money, and then they just remodeled it last year. So they added some railings and then redid the concrete steps to more steel. So it was great setup, really good experience. So overall, obviously the game was a little bit different, but Stillwater as an experience was really good.
Yeah, and I'll echo that somewhat. I was of the understanding, talking to somebody, that they had redone the lower bowl first, and then they did their stadium's odd in that it doesn't face north south. When you say run north south, theirs is east west. So they had redone the south side first, and then last year had redone the north side where we are, and got baked by the sun. We were on the north side of the stadium. The tailgating scene up there was pretty mild outside of our fans. We had a good contingency of fans that showed up early, got in the lot they weren't supposed to, and kind of argued with them because it said first come, first serve. And so some of the kids there were just like, whatever, pay your $20, we'll let you in. So we had a good time up there. It did look like they had a lot of tents set up around the stadium and the buildings downtown, even near Eskimo Joe's, honestly. And I saw some pictures from the JFBA tailgate that looked like a fantastic time. We would have had to walk all the way on the other side of the stadium to even get there, so we didn't make it over there. So sorry about that. But yeah, Eskimo Joe's was a good time. Jeff Wafflin was one of the recommendations I got from the podcaster, Justin Southwell, and that was pretty good food. It was a nice little town. It's real nice. Like the congestion getting out after the game was kind of your typical thing, and I think that's to be expected. But yeah, I can't really say a bad thing. People were super friendly, and it seems like when they think they're going to beat us, that tends to be the case a little more. So I don't know if it was that or they were genuinely that friendly, but I think they were just genuinely that friendly. And the other really weird thing was you can smoke in bars down in Oklahoma still. So went back to that, and oh man, that is just horrible. I forgot how terrible that was. So outside of that's probably my only complaint, honestly. And I had some bad barbecue. There's a whole story there, but anyway.
No, that's all right. Sounds like a good trip. I'm jealous. Someday the stars will align. I'll be able to make more of these FBS trips, but right now it just doesn't work with kids and school and whatnot right now, but soon it will. So yeah. Dallas, you had a game, right, this weekend? Well, you didn't, but Hudson had a game, right? So how'd that go?
Yeah, my son had a game. It was a good time. I don't know. I thought he played well. I was an absolute wreck going into it. Not really nervous for him, but just getting, I don't know, adjusted to. It's weird, dude. It's so weird. Like you get there and it's Friday Night Lights and you get that feeling and you smell the popcorn and the sun is right where you're used to it, and the grass, and having your kid run out there, and he played well. He played a heck of a lot better than I did my first varsity game as a sophomore. That's for sure. So anyway, because of that, I missed the game. Enjoyed it watching it on TV, I guess. You called it out, Matt. The broadcasters did a tremendous job. The words San Diego were not said once. So just that in itself, the bar is set extremely low, but they did well, did their homework. Mm-hmm. It was frustrating watching. I had no idea that the yards and time of possession and third down conversions and all of that was going to be as close as it was really caught me off guard. And I know we just got done listening to to Jimmy's show. And if anybody hasn't listened to Jimmy's show, highly recommend. Might be the most, I don't say entertaining. It might be the most. It's probably the single best coach's show I've ever listened to today. As straightforward as he was, there's a couple things that really blew me away that he said. That he clearly wanted to go down and run a football game and expected to completely, and was disappointed in some things. Gave some credit to some of the positives. The one thing that I even before this radio show, Matt, that I wanted to call out from Rants and Raves, which also, by the way, if you have not read Rants and Raves, go to jackrabbitillustrated.com, go to the blog, read that. Make sure you do it every week. Matt does an amazing job.
Thanks.
But the thing that I think that you missed was I felt like the team was flat on the sideline. And I struggled figuring out how to say it because it sounds weird because teams don't, good, well-coached teams don't jump around and hoot and holler all game on the sideline. But our body language sucked, and you could see it. And I've watched a lot of football games, and our just shoulders hunched over, whatever. There was no energy. And Jimmy called that out directly today. Said the team was flat, energy on the sideline was awful. He was trying to do things to do it, and I had no idea. He blamed that on the tablets.
Oh.
He
really?
said, yes, I cannot wait till you go back and hear this. It was so eye-opening. He said that just the way that everybody interacted, the way that people came off, what the players did as soon as they got off, the communication with the coaches, there was times where he didn't feel like he knew what was going on. Like he said, it was awful, and he blamed the tablets on that. So I thought that was super interesting.
So are the tablets staying all year? I forget. Is that just for this game?
The tablets stay, but the headsets don't.
Okay.
Or the helmet communication doesn't.
Yeah, that was just for the Big 12 game. Was the 15 up to 15 seconds on the one-way communications, right?
Yeah, he referenced the tablets a little bit in his post-game interview with Tyler Merriam. Jimmy did. He just had a quick one, and he kind of said something. He goes, the thing about the tablets is you could, and again, I recognize that too. Like we weren't out of position a lot. Like that was the one thing that I think we did really well. Which again, I don't think when you get a Jimmy Rogers coach team, that's going to be a thing that happens often. Like he's going to be very disciplined, pursuit football. Like that's Jimmy's style. That's who he is. So not being out of position is there. But then I think that's when he said in that post game with Tyler, he said, we just noticed we were missing a lot of tackles. Well, I mean, you just kind of take that from again, inexperience, a little bit lack of experience from those guys. I mean, that's kind of an energy deflator. And he called that out towards the end of the game too, that like the energy was low towards the end. And that was what he was really struggling with. And again, it's funny now to kind of see it come full circle. I'm sure now that he's got time to reflect a couple days, to really kind of relate that to the tablets. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see the changes or the adjustments he makes now with those tablets.
It was interesting. And the other thing that I was just not surprised by his candor, because we know who Jimmy is at this point. If he does not mess around, he is intense, he's direct. But he called out a couple of situational things with players that Stig would not have called out. He called out post game and today how upset he was about some substitution issues. And then he also said, hey, the O-line, they need to learn how to communicate. They need to do better. The one thing I will I'm not exactly quoting him, but it's close, basically said that I will never tolerate is them standing there with their palms up. And I know exactly what he was talking about. There were some times where somebody would look around and it was kind of this, palms up. Oh, it wasn't me. What happened? It was, again, a body language thing. And Jimmy was not pleased. He called that out tonight.
I saw that on a whiffed block once, and I was like, oh, that's not great. And then, when we had 12 men on the field, I had an OSU fan tap me on the back and said, I just want you to know we did that to you, and you had an extra player on the field. And I was like, I knew we did. I would have said something, but, I really couldn't because he was right. And then we got the penalty, and that's embarrassing. We need to do better on that specifically.
Can you throw up Deb's comment?
Yeah, sure.
I guess I could do it too, but you typically do it. All right, so Deb Gronowski said it was also interesting to hear about the quick play clock. I did not notice that. Jimmy also called out that essentially as soon as the ball was set, the play clock was at 37. Jimmy said he said it was both ways, so it wasn't one team versus the other, but he said he's never seen a play clock that fast. And he said, listen, we do things the same way. We've done it for, we've had 3 years with the same guy. He didn't change how quickly he does things. So he said that with our motions, that did restrict some of the decision making, some of the steps that go on leading up to the snap.
Well, interesting.
Is that a shorter time? Because I know that was a new rule. Last year that as soon as the ball got set, the play clock started running. That was a new rule last year, wasn't it?
That's a good question. It's really just, again, Jimmy obviously noticed that they were starting that thing way faster than he expected by a couple of seconds, and to the point where it was impacting what Mark was able to do.
Well, and they did that right controversially at the end of the NDSU Colorado game. Like that was a big
that's right.
thing on that last drive where the ball wasn't even set, but the clock was going. So interesting right now. I don't know if that's a point of emphasis to speed games along in NCAA.
Little home cooking, perhaps.
Yeah. Hey, put up Seth's other comment here. Okay, so Seth Meyer says, maybe I wasn't paying attention enough at the game, but I don't remember seeing any linebackers other than the 4 returnees from last year seem to affect the tackling in the second half. That was my observation from home as well, that it was just the 4 main seniors that have played in the past. I did not see any Bryce Johnson, Joel Ullman, Colin McShane.
Nope.
Chase Van Tol, I guess, did have some stats, but I don't know if those came on special teams or if he did get some, base or some defensive snaps too. Jim Poppin says he saw Van Tol. So yeah, that's interesting.
I saw the other 11 on the special teams play, but I thought it was, until you said something on our chat, I thought it's like, what's Gronowski doing out there on a kick?
Yeah.
I mean, the thing about that too, I'd kind of add in that I think is relevant. And again, I know Coach Rogers well enough. It's never going to be a conversation around, we lost the game. Like he goes to every game expecting to win. He's never following that up with a but. It's never we lost the game, but I'll say it. But those were NFL caliber wide receivers.
Yes.
I mean, for sure.
Yes.
I mean, that team. That's the one takeaway. Again, obviously understanding what we could have done better, the opportunities we had. I think that team's in the college football playoff at the end of the year.
Agreed.
Their O-line, their running back obviously is great, Ollie Gordon. Their wide receivers were really good. And then that quarterback didn't make a lot of mistakes. And then on the defensive side, Nick Martins just flew around the field. I mean, that guy was everywhere. And so, I mean, that's, again, not taking away, we could have definitely tackled better, but just something to also kind of relate to. The caliber of that team was better than I even expected.
It is. No, we're allowed to call that out. Jimmy can't, but we sure can. And I think we kind of glossed over, maybe assuming, or at least I did here in talking, assuming that most of the fans were on the same page in terms of, is there anything we should be concerned about? Again, go back and read Matt's article, or Matt, you can kind of talk through it. But should we be worried? No, that team was that good. And then got in some discussions today, like, let's compare to North Dakota State and them versus Colorado. And again, Cal's played great, good for them. They shut down a couple of potential number 1 overall draft picks, or not shut them down, but didn't give up 60 points to a couple of number 1 overall draft picks potential. But no, these guys were that good. That offensive line was as advertised. They were unbelievable. They were so sound. Matt, you called it out. I felt really good because I said, I tweeted out that both Hawthorne and Kirchman, both those guys are going to be good. If they keep their heads down, keep working like those do, they're going to be dudes. Their ceiling is sky's the limit for both of them. And then also Ben's favorite player, Kobe
Claiborne. Yep.
Yeah, Kobe Claiborne. Man, I can't wait to go back and watch him a little bit. Yeah. He has a motor. I can see how he put up those numbers.
Yeah, right. The guy doesn't stop. So just one thing, I want to give some flowers to Oklahoma State. Just 2 players that really impressed me. That wide receiver 1, Dejon Stribling. I mean, he put up some awesome numbers at Washington State. I went back and looked later. I just missed him because, I looked at what he did last year, 14 receptions, 198 yards and a touchdown, not taking into account that he only played in like 5 games because he broke his leg or something like that. That guy is good. He is going to be an NFL wide receiver. Rashad Owens definitely showed more speed than I saw him play with last year when I watched his tape. He's a gamer. I was really happy with how we handled Presley, though. Like that was really good. Because early in the game, especially, they were spamming to get him the ball, just like we said they were going to do. And he didn't do anything with it. I think he had 7 receptions for 35 yards. That's A-okay. Plays like that, though, may have set up that deep shot down later to Rashad Owens by drawing folks up. I don't know. But again, we handled Presley really well. We had a bad matchup on him in the red zone with Steven. Like, that's not Steven's game, those quick, shifty guys. But overall, I'm really happy with the pieces that I saw. Not happy necessarily with the outcome, but there was enough good building blocks that against FCS competition, we're going to be just fine.
It is. And the last piece, the most obvious one to call out, is that we were able to hold Ollie Gordon II, who is, a top 3 to 4 Heisman candidate for this year. The Doak winner from last year, top running back in the FBS last year, probably going to be top this year. There was 2 teams that held him to less yards per carry than we did last year. One was UCF in a weird game after Bedlam in the rain, and the other one was frickin' Texas. So I'm sorry, good luck. Well, no, I don't want to create any bulletin board material for anybody. We're going to stop the run this year. I'm really, really happy with how those guys did. I mean, who we shut down was fantastic. A lot of those guys, getting to know some of the podcasters for Oklahoma State, they think that they've got maybe 9 draft picks this year. They might. Can't say they don't. Those guys are good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, he probably realistically should have been under 100 yards. I mean, they kept him in towards the end there. To me personally, just for
they did.
Heisman,
yep.
billboard stuff. I mean, it's his ability to have more 100-yard games is going to help him, which is great. Whatever. I mean, but it was a 20-point game, and he's in there with 6 minutes running out the clock to get to 100. And so, I mean, it should have been less in reality. And like that to me, I think our defense, Adam Bach, that whole group, I mean, they did a phenomenal job on him. I mean, he had a couple just tough runs. I mean, that's a big, strong human being. I mean, he was breaking tackles, but he could not get to the second level without us kind of getting around him. And that was really, really a kind of a strong performance, I think, from Bach and that defense.
Agreed. So let's talk about some more positives. Obviously, I think we have to start with Griffin Wilde, right? What a showcase for him on a bigger stage. And I think, Dallas, it was one of your podcasting friends, Oklahoma podcasting friends, saying that he's legit, or what was the word he used? Something like that. He just looked great. He looked smooth. He looked incredibly fast out there. It was the route running that when he committed, I contacted Vince Benedetto and said, tell me about this kid, Vince. What do we need to know? And he said he's never seen someone that's able to run these routes at this speed that he runs without slowing down at all. And I think
comes out of breaks
it's
insane.
Yeah. So that was cool. Graham Goring impressed me.
Yeah.
And I know the offensive line had its issues, right? But overall, that went a hell of a lot better than I thought it could have. There was a worst case scenario in there where we just couldn't block anyone. We didn't know what we had on 3 of these guys. We assumed Sam Hagan could play, right? But Quentin Christensen played tight end in a sub package last year, and Ethan Vibert's been a backup for 4 or 5 years, however long it's been. To some good players, no doubt. But still, a lot more could have gone wrong in this game. And I thought for the most part they were pretty decent.
I just want to clear up why I chuckled a little bit about Graham Goring when you said that. It wasn't because of what I was putting up. I had one of the guys that I was with that was talking about, what do we even bring back for wide receiver? I know we've got Wildy, and he's a beast, but Graham Goring, he, outside of Montana State, didn't really show much last year. And the very next play was his catch in the end zone. And he turns to me and looks and says, I guess he might be all right after all.
Perfect.
I thought it was pretty funny.
Let's all keep doubting him.
I won't name
every
Tim
time
here,
he gets on the field.
But anyway.
No, it's exciting. They seeing those weapons get out there was cool. Back to the offensive line. We've got two potential narratives this year. One is that we had 8 NFL caliber players that led the team for a few years and then all moved on. The other narrative is that we've had guys that have practiced until January against these same guys that haven't left, that are waiting for their time. And for the most part, it looked that way. And especially at the offensive line. Now, in my opinion, I have not rewatched it. I don't know that I'm going to, and I clearly haven't broken down film. But it felt like the majority of the time when Mark was working in a really dirty pocket, they did bring a 5th rusher. And again, I might be wrong. Clearly there's people that have broken this down. But it really looked to me like it, for the most part, it took a 5th guy to really make the pocket messy up until, who is the slash linebacker guy at the end that is a freak that got in there and sacked him at the end?
Yeah, Colin Oliver.
Their player?
Colin Oliver. Yeah. Colin Oliver. Again, we're not going to see Colin Oliver again this year.
So that was incredibly impressive. Colin Oliver lifting Sam Hagan, getting under him,
yep,
and getting that sack. I hate to see it, but as like a fan of football, that was like one of those holy shit. Did that happen? Like moments? Yeah. Jake, you have to appreciate that as like a pass rusher, right? Like,
yeah, and again, I think sometimes just like that FBS, FCS comparison, the difference again, like all the credit to our guys. I think we're competing. We've done that for the last handful of years. Like, we have high quality players. We're rotating guys in. Our depth is there, but it's like those 1 to 2 to 3 guys on the other level. They're just the other level of specimens of humans that just I remember we played Minnesota. They had that 6'7", 340 dude that was a tackle, just another beast of a man. And you go against a Rex Burkhead type level guy too, and those types of guys. It's fun to see. But like I said, the way that we kept up with players like that, I think is really promising. I do agree. Like Dallas said, like the narrative, you can go down this narrative too of, I think we showed a lot of promise with the discipline. We weren't out of position a lot. We, again, the energy, not super excited about that. I'm kind of surprised by that, but I think just from the discipline that we showed at times with being in the right position, I think that's going to be kind of leaning towards that second narrative that Dallas kind of referenced there.
Yep. One other really good guy or 2 good guys to call out here, right? And I can't believe we haven't heard from Jamal yet, but Amar was awesome.
Cooking. He was cooking.
You told us, Jamal, that he was going to be at another level, and he looked great. Angel looked great. Very happy with both of them. Would have liked to see a couple more opportunities for Kirby Voorhees because we've heard so much about him this year.
Kirby trucking Voorhees because he's going to truck some guys. He's going to truck some guys.
Hey, there's Jamal. Excellent. So, Jamal, you were right. Man, Amar looks great. Really, really excited for the rest of the season for him. All right. Should we do – well, first, we got to take care of Northwestern Mutual here. So, game balls this year are going to be sponsored by Northwestern Mutual. We've heard a little bit about them. Actually heard from Mike Tuck and Quentin Hicks this week and just said thanks for the shout out on the podcast. But if you do need investing or retirement help, whatever it may be, contact the good folks at Northwestern Mutual. Make sure you have a plan in place for your retirement and in case you're not around to take care of your family and your loved ones. So it's the best thing you can do for your family is to make sure you have a plan for when you're no longer around. So with that, thank you, Northwestern Mutual. Really appreciate your sponsorship this year. And also the Alex's Lemonade Stand. Everyone needs to go back and listen to Slade's interview that he did this week with Alex's mom, about the foundation and where this all started, where it came from. That is on the FCS Nation radio podcast. You can podcast it. It is excellent. Or Stone. Jeepers, not Slade. Stone.
I was going to let you finish.
Stone Labanowitz. But it was excellent. Stone did a great interview, and really inspiring work that this mother is doing for her daughter, Alex. So thank you, Stone, for doing that, Kevin. And thank you to Northwestern Mutual for sponsoring again this year. So players announced next week. Let's go. All right, game balls. Where's my paper at for last week? All right, Dallas. I think you won. You picked Griffin freaking Wilde, GFW. So I think he's the choice for the offensive player of the week. Do you guys have anything different?
I mean, it's either him or Amar, right? So Amar ran his tail off, man. He looked good.
Yeah,
It's a
great
really
game.
solid defense. It's not maybe as flashy as all those yards on those deep passes, but
yeah,
I mean, he'll get mine.
Yeah, and Chad, I honestly thought you might be for a second there, Gus Miller. I don't think I heard Colin Clare, Justin Kirkland do anything. I don't think I saw them once make a play. And so
no,
Gus,
most of the pressure came from further out. So
Yep, exactly. All right. On defense, we had Tucker Large prediction, Adam Bach. We had a secondary.
Matt keeps track of everything, Brendan.
And then Dallas Beanham. All right. Chad, I think I gave this one to Bach. But I did see one online. I think this was from Kyle, actually. Kyle did like a dog of the week or something like that. And he said Kobe Humphrey. Kobe Humphrey had a nice showing.
Played well. So, yes.
Yeah. And what do you guys think for game ball here?
I think Bach, just the way, again, an Ollie Gordon guy, like you could tell he was a little spy and he was following him. I think there was definitely some just stepping up to the plate that Bach had to do as a captain, as a leader, as an experience to stop a Heisman candidate, and he did, in my opinion. Got to be Bach.
I can't disagree with that either. I would have probably chose someone off the defensive line as well as we did stop the run. However, we weren't getting any pressure to the quarterback.
No pressure.
So, which had, negative results on the back end and made our DBs really have to cover for extra time. And that's not a good situation.
That's a good point that we missed was, at times some of the secondary didn't look great, but with zero pressure, I mean, you're putting those guys in terrible spots. So you got to, obviously coaches understand that when they break down film. You can't give somebody 4, 5, 6 seconds to throw at least. I mean, he could have had infinity time on some of those dropbacks. Like there was just no pressure. Again, against a phenomenal line, and some of that is on. I'm not sure what all we tried in terms of stunts, bringing extra pressure, whatever. But with the speed that they had back there, you can't always afford to send somebody extra either. And we just didn't sneak in there and cause any problems.
Yep.
I was encouraged that we ran down number 0 from behind on the one blitz. That was kind of cool to see. So I don't remember who had that tackle, but that was pretty cool to see him get tackled in the backfield.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to go with Wilde and Bach. And I think outside of the kick out of bounds, Hunter Dustman had a pretty dang good day. So that's encouraging. And I get what he was trying to do on the kick out of bounds too. They were trying to kick it in that corner, pin them deep within the 25. Makes sense. Just lost a little bit of control on it. So, yep.
I think overall special teams looked really good. Sorry.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yep, they did. We've talked about that a little bit last week, that typically where you see the separation in some of these games is on special teams due to the extra scholarship athletes that they have that they can throw on special teams. You did not see that. I called that I didn't think that was going to be a problem, and I will say I got that one right, that we were matched up very well. There were no issues, and I think, honestly, kicking, snapping, and holding are kind of underrated for us because they just go so well that we get used to it. So great job, guys.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on to Incarnate Word. So a team we have never faced, I never thought we'd face, and had never heard of until NDSU embarrassed them in the playoffs handful of years ago. When was that? Right, that was
2022, wasn't it? Just 2 years ago.
Yeah,
think
maybe
so.
a little longer than that. Like when they first played them.
They played them
the
2 years
first
ago,
one,
but
okay.
that one could have gone either way if I remember right.
Yeah, that was a good game. But it was a while ago. Maybe it wasn't even in the playoffs. Brian, if you're still here, let us know in the comments when they last played them or when they first played them, because that's the first time I ever heard of Incarnate Word.
Yeah,
Didn't
the first
know they
time
were
I
in
heard.
Texas.
Yeah, the first time I heard them, wasn't even sure they were a real school. Like, is this that?
Yeah.
I mean, there was one team that played this week. If you listen to Joe and Sean's pod, they were like, "Is that even a real school?" That's kind of how I felt about Incarnate Word when I first heard about them. But yeah, they've been pretty legit for the last 4 or 5 years now. So
Yeah. All right. So I think Tyler talked about this with Jimmy just for a bit. The number of transfers that are on this team is insane. They added 14 FBS players this offseason and 7 FCS players and then 9 JUCOs. So 9 JUCOs or below or D2 or whatever it may be. So kind of crazy. There are obviously different formulas to build a team. But on the offensive 2 deep, for starters, 9 of 11 guys are transfers. On the defensive side of the ball, 9 of 11 are transfers. Just bonkers, right? So different ways to build a team. Has anyone else had a chance to look at these guys at all? Any initial thoughts?
Oh, I watched a good chunk of the game, but no, just to expand on what you're saying a little bit more. I mean, you want to talk about the exact opposite way to build a program versus South Dakota State, and that's who University of the Incarnate Word is. Again, they reload with transfers. They have had some dudes at quarterback the last few years. Lindsey Scott Jr., comes to mind from a few years ago, and I really wanted to see him at some point in the playoffs because, man, was he good. He was just electric. And that's what they've got now, with Calzada at quarterback, and we can get to that in a minute, Matt, and break that down. But, guys that have came from Power 4 schools, and not just any Power 4, like we're talking about schools that there are no bad athletes on those rosters. Like you don't just make the squad to practice. Like they are all good, and they got beat out by somebody that is very good. And I forget who just threw it up, but Cam Ward, who by all accounts at this last weekend at Miami looked like he could win the freaking Heisman this year. That's where he came from. So I mean, they cycle guys through. And again, with the parity in this, or the differences, we had 31 new guys on a roster, 30 of them are freshmen or whatever it is, and they are the exact opposite. 40 new faces, only 9 or 10 freshmen or something along those lines. So that's how they rebuild. They just find guys, and by all means, again, the quarterback. There's I had a wide receiver from Hawaii who looked real good. I think he had 5-6 receptions here this last week. But I'm sure it makes watching film really tough last year because everybody's different.
Yeah, I mean, out of the receivers, they list 4 different receiver spots on their roster, and on the 2 deep there, 7 of the 8 are new transfers this year. New transfers. And the other kid, Jamison Garcia, is a redshirt freshman, so he didn't play. So 8 of 8 are new. Like, how do you do that? Their tight end's new from Houston. Like, what in the world? The one player I really like is this Roy Alexander from UAlbany. We saw him last year in the playoffs. Tyler said he had 5 receptions. And he just is a different kind of bodied wide receiver. He's 5'10", 200, but he plays bigger than that. Runs a lot of in-breaking routes, it looks like. So that's going to be something to watch. This Josh Lorick and Mason Pierce are kind of similar to the kid last week, the Presley. They're going to spam him, get him the ball early at the line of scrimmage, try and run these little bubble screens, these games right there at the line of scrimmage. The Mason Pierce. So listen up, folks. This is an interesting story. The grass is not always greener on the other side, right?
the Marshall kid, yeah.
Yeah. So Mason Pierce was a standout at McNeese. He was an excellent punt returner, excellent wide receiver, really a fun gadget type player for them, really involved in the offense. Went to Marshall for 1 year, and did not see the field at all. 0 snaps on the field, transferred back, and now he's in a good role at Incarnate Word. So caution, the grass is not always greener on the other side. And so that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to go off my transfers.
No, they got a fair number again.
I was just going to say another thing about the transfers they have is they have a high number of graduate students. So we're playing some older dudes again. But, you know, we've seen a lot in the past where you bring all these guys together that haven't played a lot together. You know, they have the same amount of time starting the season as we do, and it takes them a while to get together and gel. I mean, we've seen that with our Hogs on the line, who did a pretty good job by all accounts this last week, you know, being new together. But you see that really cause teams to suffer a bit in the early part of the season, and they come together more by the end of the season. So it might be a really good win to sneak out if we can, because they might be not firing on all cylinders, so to speak, to start the year.
Well, I don't want people to paint the picture of a dysfunctional team or a team that's not necessarily ready, because this is a very good ball club. And again, they've won, you know, probably, you know, I'm curious I didn't go back and look, but I guarantee over the last 4 or 5 years, they've won about as many games as anybody. And they come in high flying offense. You know, again, they've got these guys that play extremely well. You know, that maybe didn't quite make it at a larger school, but I just, you know, they were 9-2 last year, missed the playoffs. I guarantee they are pissed. Anybody that's left on the roster, the coaching staff, anybody else, you know, does not think that they should have been left out of the playoffs, because they're used to winning at this point. And to talk offense and maybe defense, this is a skill-heavy team, so they aren't necessarily known for what they do in the trenches. I didn't get a lot of time to watch their line. They're a little bit smaller, but you know, most of their offensive line is in the 295 range, like 6'3", 6'4", 295. So not tiny. You know, they're pretty solid. And it's going to be an air raid style offense that we do not see in the Valley. Ever, really, you know, not terribly often, unless you go back to, you know, some of the teams that Southern Illinois put together when they were slinging the ball around, but otherwise, I mean, they line it up and communicate routes and go. And
so we are going to see this from you and I now this year. Supposedly you and I put in the air raid,
the prairie raid, right?
That's going to be exciting. So
okay,
and the guy that's orchestrating all that, Zach Calzada, really a heck of a player. You know, he's a transfer from Texas A&M. And you may, if you watch the national games, that big upset that A&M had over Alabama when Alabama was number 1, that was him at quarterback. He was the SEC Offensive Player of the Week for that performance. For whatever reason, left A&M after that season, went to Auburn, got hurt, did not play, and now he's at Incarnate Word. So, again, he looks really good. He looked good once he got going against Northern Colorado. And the two, they don't just sling the ball around. They don't just pass the ball. They have some nice running backs. They kind of have a thunder lightning duo in that backfield. Isaiah Robinson's the bigger of the two, 6 foot, 215. And then the smaller guy, Declan Taylor, 5'9", 165. And he is lightning in the bottle. He was fun to watch. Broke off a long touchdown run in that game. So good offense, man, a good offense.
I mean, I think the opportunity for us to not, again, I said this last week, but not allow the big plays with a team like this, especially at home. I think we're obviously going to hopefully have a little bit more momentum, a little more energy with that in regard. But, you know, that hurry up air raid that they have, you know, those big plays with guys like that, like that's the interesting thing about the transfer portal, that I think it's so different than 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. Because now, like, the idea of, and again, back to Coach Stig, love Coach Stig with all my heart, greatest guy. He built a culture of family. He built a culture of trust and just those relationships. But the transfer portal has changed that, where it's like you come in and just play. There's no emotion to it. I don't want to say these guys are just, you know, don't care, but, you know, it's less about, are you comfortable? Does this feel like home? And it's like, just come in and play. And have fun. And this is the type of offense, you know, the kind of conversations or things that I've seen too, that allows those types of guys to just come in and just sling it, have fun, run around. Again, I think that's going to be a big key for us to be able to keep up with that fast pace and that tempo. Because these guys, I think you're right, Matt. There's a lot of good athletes on this team.
They've been ranked in the top 25 for like 4 straight years or something like that. So no slouch.
Yeah. Yeah. Question from Kyle. Jake, how do you get out of a pass rush slump? Blitz, more stunts, games?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think with our D line, like the skill is there. I don't think it was anything like in terms of, are we gaining a lot by doing more blitz and stunts and gaming? Like, those are a lot of things when you're, really trying to deal with a quality offense, a North Dakota State power and some of those things. Or I think back to the Taylor Martinez midline option type things where you're trying to get into those guys. But I don't think it's necessarily that we don't have it. I think the skill level's there from our D line. Like I said, I think that was just a really, really strong O line last week that we played. I think we're capable of it.
And they had quite a bit of depth on the O-line too. They were able to sub people
Yeah.
out if they needed to and still retain high quality guys.
Yeah.
That's actually, you bring up subbing to bring it back to this week. I actually think that we might see even a deeper rotation this week than we did against Oklahoma State, because I mean those two teams schematically are the exact opposites, and they're built exactly, they're very, very different, and the style of offense that they're going to try to run is going to be kind of the exact opposite likely of Oklahoma State. So I wouldn't be surprised. We ran, I don't know if we got 12 guys in on the defensive line. I didn't check it off, but at least, there was at least 10 that
for
played on Saturday. And then I've got a cat crawling across my keyboard here. Sorry, we have a kitten. It just freaked me out. I saw a shadow behind the computer. I almost panicked. Went into fight or flight.
Do we get to name the kitten, or has it already got one?
It does. I think we're going with Pepper. I'm not sure. Look out, buddy.
Nah.
Sorry, we got important stuff to. There we go. All right. So anyway, I think it's going to be different, and I think we could see on the linebacking core, a few more guys subbing. We talked about only seeing those top 4, but we could see a little bit bigger rotation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hey, so let's flip over to their defense. They play a 4-3, and it's an interesting one. They run a lot of guys in on that defensive line as well. Their linebacking core, Tylen Foster is their leading tackler. He returns. Darius Sanders returns. And then Mr. Williams returns. Mr. Williams, yes. Again, a lot of transfers. They picked up some of the guys from Colorado last year that had left. And so that's kind of cool that we'll see some of these players. The local angle, right? Because we always like the local angle here. Chase Carter was one of the best players in Minnesota in the 2021 or 2022 class. Verbaled very early to Michigan State. Spent a year at Michigan State, and now he is in his second year at Incarnate Word. Went to Minnehaha Academy and was just an absolute beast there. He's one of their defensive tackles, having a nice season. Had a good game last week. Also, Dune Smith, who some might remember from Southern Illinois last year, their stud linebacker. He is now here as well. Him and Darius Sanders split time at the star linebacker position. So kind of some interesting players right there. Kendrick Stone is one of their best corners, Iowa Western. And then Matt Cordes, one of their safeties, went to Bowling Green right out of high school. He's from Illinois. And we had offered him right after Bowling Green offered him. And then COVID hit and ended up right at Bowling Green, Iowa Western for 2 years. And now he's at Incarnate Word. So there's some local angles for you guys.
Good work.
Yeah, that's what I do, right?
Yeah, that's why you the pod father.
Yeah, right. But these guys, honestly, like this defense had a pretty good year last year. I'm sure we'll learn more from the Rev this week, but the Southland was down last year. It wasn't very good overall, but their defense statistically was really solid. This is going to be in the opponent preview tomorrow. I do have an opponent preview coming out for these guys. They forced their opponents to punt 61 times last year. And just for reference, because like, Matt, that doesn't seem like a lot. We forced our opponents to punt 72 times last year, but we played 5 more games than them. So their defense is pretty dang good. They don't get a lot of sacks, but they're opportunistic with their turnovers and takeaways, and they're just really solid. If you watch the Northern Colorado game, they allowed 1 explosive run, but outside of that, man, they kept the ball in front of them for most of the game.
They're going to be up and ready for this. Looking at their schedule, one thing I wanted to touch on. So they beat a presumably terrible Northern Colorado team last week, 28-7, where they kind of struggled, and I watched the majority of that game, and then their athletes just kind of took over towards the end.
Yep.
But they come to Brookings, then they go to Southern Illinois, and then they get into then they've got Northern Arizona at home, and then get into conference play from there. And I mean, I have to assume that they're looking at they've had this game circled on their calendar. I got to assume that this is the measuring stick, and not that a game at Southern Illinois isn't going to be tough for them, but they want to show that they got left out last year, and they added all these new studs, and they're going to come in, absolutely ready to play here. And I think they didn't have an FBS game, so I think this has got to be, their top game on their schedule for them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, when you're number one, you got a target on your back. So,
yep.
Yeah. And I didn't say that to be arrogant at all, but
no,
it stands to reason that that's who I'd want to go play and beat at their place.
Yeah. Right.
Sure makes your stock rise quicker. Right. So,
yeah. So they're going to be fired up. We're going to be fired up. It's going to be a fun game. Before we get into predictions, though, Jake, what does JFPA have going on this week?
Yeah, so I think great tailgate in Stillwater. I think another bigger one, if not bigger, this week at home. Our first official tailgate kind of combined with the parents, so we're excited for that. And again, a great love for the sponsors, included Jackrabbit Illustrated as part of the sponsors there, so that's great. This week we're also honoring Matt Anderson. Again, we talked about him last week, the tight end from Rapid City that passed away in a tragic accident. So I think kind of a great thing just to be able to share that recognition and love for a former player, but a former family member for a lot of people back in the day. So some good things going on there. I think we're continuing to stay close to Jimmy, obviously being the relationships that we have there. Finding ways to feed the guys. So, we're in search of a big propane tank, 1,000-gallon propane tank, so we can take care of the guys in some different events. So did want to kind of get that call out. If there's anybody that's got a connection to something like that out there, give us a shout. But yeah, so lots of good things. I think, this is going to be a fun game. This week honoring Matt Anderson, but also, getting to home and celebrating the national championship.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Jake. And thank you, JFPA. So, all right. Who went first last week? Jake did. So Chad, who are you going with for your offensive player of the week?
Well, I just think it's going to be Amar. I'm just going to say it. I just think it's going to be Amar. Don't ask me why. That's just how I feel.
Okay. All right, Dallas, who you got?
For offense, I guarantee that Mark is not happy with the outcome of that game. So I'm going with our quarterback, Mark Gronowski.
All right. Jake?
Yeah, I love the kind of excitement that Griffin kind of pulled away with last week. I think that's going to be kind of the next step. And I think, I'll say it kind of reminded me a lot of a Jake Winicky.
100%.
That was the thing that I kept, which love that guy. That is one of the best history of SDSU that I think, just human being overall and just person. So I'm going to Wildy. I think he just, he's stepping up.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my friends were talking about how he reminded us of Winicky as well. And
yeah,
really the only difference is he's just an inch or two shorter than Jake was.
Yep. All right, I'm going with Angel Johnson. So, all right, Dallas, defensive pick.
Hold on, super curious. With the Angel pick, do you think that that the game is going to be in a position where do you think he gets more reps like going in, or is he playing more in the second half, or what do you see?
I do think we're going to run the ball on these guys. I think we're going to run the ball. Chad chose Amar, so I'm choosing Angel just in case.
Okay.
Angel might
Got
break
it.
one.
Just curious on the logic there.
Yep. No, I would have chosen Amar if Chad didn't. So, yep.
Sorry.
All right.
All right. I guarantee you the defensive line is frustrated as hell. So my same logic for pick and mark. I guarantee they're extremely unhappy with the way that they graded out. They are going to take out some aggression. And I am going with Ben's favorite player, Kobe Claiborne. Let's go.
Yes, Kobe. Perfect. All right. For me on defense, this again is going to be a game where they're going to want to air it out. And for the second week in a row, I'm going with Dallas Beanham. All right, Jake.
Man, I had the same idea as Dallas there. That D line. That's what I was hoping on. But yeah, I think that's the key right there is just kind of understanding the struggles that they kind of had. You know, Kyle called out the pass rush and some of those things that we can do. So I'll go with Frankel. I know he's on the backside of that just because I think I can't go with the D line because he took Claiborne. But I think that front seven is going to be key this week.
Oh, by the way, just off to the side here, we can like team up on everybody and go D line all the time,
there you go.
all year, and that is completely fine.
All right, I'm in.
Can't pick a position group. Come on now, that's lazy.
Yeah.
Well, we can each pick one.
Yeah, you can. Yeah,
we play like 20.
I get such a hard time when I pick the position group that no one else can do it. I guess
I don't let it slide.
No, yeah, I know
you can. I'm just gonna let you hear about it.
Yeah. All right, Chad, who you got for defense?
Well, Kyle says Changang's hungry. Pat Whitty here says, O-line and D-line. So I'm thinking they're going to get taken to church and Jared DePriest is going to have a day.
Yes.
Okay. Taken to church.
Yes. Jared DePriest.
I got you, Chad.
Yeah.
All right. I had to look back at what I wrote in my preview article tomorrow. I am predicting a Jackrabbit victory 38-17. 38-17. Jake?
I think we're going to come out offensively pretty strong. I'm going to go a little bit higher with like a 42-21. I think it's just going to be the Gronowski kind of stepping up home game. Just a lot of energy. I think we'll score more.
Okay. Chad?
Well, he took our score from me. 42, I think, is what we're going to get. And I was thinking 24 for them because they're going to score some points.
Okay.
Did he just write that down or what? 42-30 or 20. Okay, so
20.
You took my Claiborne pick, so we're even now.
I'm just trying to prove that I'm not copying you. I got 42-20. Good guess.
Awesome. So, okay, those are written down. Good work, everyone. All right, so now we have a ton of nuts and bolts to get to here. So stick with us here for the next little bit until we're done, okay? We're excited to announce for 3 different games this year, we have 2 tickets that we are giving away to each of those games. So this is the first game. I believe the tickets are in section 120, and I forget the row and the actual seats. But we have 2 tickets. Dallas, do you have information on the exact details of this contest, or are we coming up with it still?
I can talk through that. I do not have the details of where the seats are. But yeah, we've got 2 tickets for 3 home games. Excited. We're going to give those away each week, midweek. So what we're going to do probably tomorrow, we're actually starting a day late, I wasn't thinking about the holiday, is on X, on Facebook, and on Instagram. We are going to have a post, and we are going to take anybody that basically likes, shares, comments, and shares, and follows us. And we are going to give those tickets away randomly to anyone that does that across those 3.
I think we should include comments. Yeah.
Yeah.
Comments
too. Well, we're gonna require it's all. So yep,
All
just
things.
looking
You
to
must
grow the
follow us.
brand, looking to grow the brand, looking to spread the word here and get Jackrabbit Illustrated out. So yeah, excited to give away some tickets.
And we'll draw Thursday morning.
Yep,
Right?
I think so. That seems
Yeah.
to be about good enough time.
So we'll get a post out tomorrow. So all right, cool. All right, next thing.
That's a big deal with some of these big games. Augie, USD, some of these big home games. That's gonna be a sought after ticket. This is awesome.
Sold out.
Good
So what do we
deal.
have? We have Incarnate Word,
Oh, I don't
USD,
Oh no.
and Southern Illinois. I think are the 3 games we chose.
That
Sounds
sounds,
right.
correct.
Yeah. So yeah. All right. The Bar Network, Jackrabbit Illustrated Bar Network. Chad, I'll talk about it. Do you want to get it pulled up, or can you by chance, or Dallas?
You want me to pull up that
pull,
tag?
pull
I'll
up? Yeah, pull up that page. Yeah, if you
Give
can.
me a second.
So the B team last week in their rambling and nonsense and tomfoolery,
Deep thinkers.
had a great idea to start a page of collecting just the different bars that show Jackrabbit games, just so you can have fun cheering on the Jacks with other Jackrabbit fans, no matter where you may be. You may be visiting family out in Rapid City, or you may be in Pierre pheasant hunting, whatever it may be, and you want to catch the game. Now you know where you can go to watch the game. So we're going to continuously be adding to this, but we have it sorted by state here, a couple different spots. Whoa, that's just displayed differently than I'd seen it before. Cool. All right, and it's in alphabetical order.
I'm already wishing I would have put the page together differently so it wasn't so hard to add towns in alphabetical order. But I'm committed. I'm stuck to it.
Got it. So again, we have
Just have to redo it every time we add one, huh?
Basically.
Yeah, we have over a dozen different ones. We had it just as a blog post, but now Dallas did create this page. Awesome job, Dallas. Thank you. But yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. So thank you. And so check this out.
And if anybody knows, we've got two in Minnesota now, a couple, one in Wisconsin. If there's any in South Dakota, but outside of South Dakota, it's kind of cool to add those ones out of state. So let us know.
And Kent at Duffy's in Montevideo. If you guys show the games, let me know. We'll put it on. So happy to send people your direction. All right. Next up, Friday night. If you're not going to be going to high school games, 2 of the great Jackrabbits, Tucker Crafts, Dallas Goddard, square off in Brazil for the second game of the NFL season. That's why I'm repping the Tucker jersey tonight.
I did not have 2 South Dakota State tight ends playing in Brazil in my bingo card, by the way.
Oh, what kind of bingo card is that?
Not ever, right? Not until they both made the league. And then Brazil wasn't on there.
Yeah. So that's going to be pretty fun. Excited for that. Excited to see those guys show what they can do. So tune into that. And then finally, I say this quite often, there is so much good content out there right now for Jackrabbit coverage. What Borg puts together, what Tanner Castor has been doing, what Kyle and Scott have been doing at Splitting Hairs. Great stuff. Zimmer, I mean, goodness gracious. Like, I think, Chad, you guys touched on this on B Team a little bit last week, but when we started Jackrabbit Illustrated, it was Zimmer who was doing some stuff, and honestly, that was about it. And we started this to provide more coverage and just to get a little more in depth. And now there's so much good in-depth coverage, quality coverage that other programs don't get. Other programs are lucky to have one beat writer like Zimmer. They're lucky to have that. And we have countless media people that are interested in the Jacks. So keep supporting them, like, share, subscribe to all their stuff too, because that's what keeps them interested, right?
Yeah, sign up for SiouxFallsLive.com or Mitchell Republic. They have deals going on all the time. Help support Zimmer's because he does an excellent job. So
yep. And follow Kyle, Splitting Hairs. I just read his post-game recap today. Excellent stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, Scott did a good with that too.
Yeah. All right. Anything else for you guys? Chad, anything for book club?
does sound like a certain someone that's been commenting here may or may not be bringing brisket since we're playing a Texas team.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so if you know, you know. Yeah, come on out. We'll have some beer. We'll have some food. We'll all be there in the same spot. I know there was some questions on that earlier on, but we'll all be there. Tent's working well, and yeah, excited to get back out there.
Awesome. Dallas, you making it over?
I am actually going to be in Wisconsin watching the Badgers beat up the Yotes.
All right. Good. And Jake, I'm assuming you're going to be there, right?
Yeah, no, it's I think, again, we have 2 big home games here, and then we don't have another one after next week till October 12th. So I think the opportunity to get out and enjoy some good fall weather in Brookings, early season night games. I think it's going to be an awesome time. Really be a good weekend.
Yeah. I'm bringing Miles, Chad, so he's going to be excited to see you. So, yeah.
There you go.
He was pretty pumped when I told him that Brendan was making brisket too. So, yeah.
I do want to get a little special shout out to Ed Hawthorne. That'd be Bryce Hawthorne's dad. Come over and talk to me for quite a while at the tailgate. Had some great conversation about his life up there in Minneapolis, and cool dude. If you guys see him, say hi. He's very friendly, and yeah.
just gotta. No, that was nice of you, Chad. That's nice.
I hope you weren't laughing at me.
Sometimes we just get the goofy comments. So.
I think that's Kevin's alter ego on a different platform.
It's got to be.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone. Like, share, subscribe. Thanks for tuning in. This is a lot of fun. Go big, go blue, go
Jacks.
Jacks.
Go Jacks.